You've got to see how we're landing these huge clients so quickly. In just the last 5 days, Dave onboarded 3 new clients, totaling $37,000 of new annual revenue in his business. I want to share with you the 3-step process that we're using to land these clients. Now, we're not going to get into the lead generation in this video. If you want to see how the lead generation works, look for the Local Legends training link in the description. So what do we do to convert those leads into these high ticket clients? And that's kind of counterintuitive because you might think, well, if people aren't buying my websites at the current price and I want to increase the demand, I should decrease the price. But don't decrease the price, because we're looking at clients in like the $10,000 to $20,000 range zone. Like Dave's clients are like $11,000 to $15,000, which is what I would consider to be high ticket, recurring revenue, like partnership clients. And if you decrease the price, you actually end up pushing away those types of leads in favor of attracting like the cheap, high stress clients that just make you want to quit. And that's the counterintuitive part. So what I want to get into today is what is the 3-step process that we're using to actually land these high ticket recurring revenue clients. And the first step is going to be the target audience. Who are we actually targeting to sell these packages to? The second step is going to be what type of offer do we want to be presenting? And then the third thing is, how do you overcome transactional resistance? In other words, what are the things that we need to be thinking about to get people to actually say yes, rather than I'll think about it? Our target audience is local service businesses. And I know you might be thinking, Lee, don't you need to pick a niche and target down and be more specific than that? You don't really need to. Local service businesses is the niche, because look at who it's not. It's not e-commerce businesses. It's not online only businesses. It's not national brands or nonprofit organizations. It's just local service businesses. And if you check the link in the description for Local Legends, you'll see exactly what I mean about how you can create a single marketing package that just knocks it out of the park for local businesses, where the business has in-person interactions with their clients. Whether the business actually goes to the client, like a service area business, like some kind of a home service business, or whether the business has a physical location, the client's coming to them, everything is all happening from within driving distance. So it's all super local, and you can create one marketing package that serves that audience and just crushes it. And that's why local service businesses are the target audience. That is the niche. So what's going into these packages that we're offering the local service businesses? Because we're not just talking about set it and forget it websites. We're talking about how to drive traffic, how to pull leads from the traffic, how to convert the leads into clients. I had to take my local SEO video off of this channel because so much has changed about SEO even in just the past few months. So next week, I'm going to be launching a brand new local SEO in 2025 video, because so much has changed now that AI is overtaking searches, even for local businesses. So we're going to go deep into what's changed, what just isn't working at all anymore, and what are the new things that we need to be focused on as web designers to make sure that our clients are showing up in those AI-generated answers in a way that actually allows them to get clicks and clients from that. So don't forget to subscribe for that. That's going to be a huge game changer, especially now that AI is just overtaking searches, even local searches. And more on the details about what goes into the packages. But in addition to the technical details, what about the structure of the offer? Because I feel like the structure of the offer is equally as important as the technical details themselves. Because if you don't structure the offer in a way that allows clients to say yes, that it's financially accessible, then what difference does it make what actually goes into the package? I don't think it's any secret that there's a lot of local service businesses that aren't going to be able to write you a $10,000 check right on the spot for a gigantic website. But yet, they're still really great businesses to work with because they could grow into that. So what I'm trying to say is, I like to allow my clients to use their budget to dictate the timeline rather than the impact of the results. Because eventually I want everybody to get to the top, but I'm structuring the offer in a value ladder, like a good, a better, a best, or like an entry level, a mid level, and a top end, so that even if there are clients that can't start at the top, they can at least start at the entry level and then work their way up. And so that's just increasing the timeline rather than impacting the results. And I feel like that's a really important factor, especially when focusing on these local service businesses, because budget is a big constraint for a lot of them, but it doesn't mean they're bad clients. It just means that they need to grow a little bit in order to be able to afford the higher end package stuff. So that's one of the things that I think is critical to the success, especially when you start talking about step 3, which is overcoming transactional resistance. So let's talk about that. So how do you get more people to buy your stuff while at the same time raising your prices? It sort of sounds counterintuitive to do both of those things at the same time, until you realize there's entire collections of industries that have this exact scenario going on. Like, for example, if you were going to go skydiving, do you want to buy the budget parachute, right? Or if you need LASIK eye surgery, you want to get the budget option for that? It's like when results really matter, you always go with the premium option, right? So, and I feel like that applies to medical services, legal services, and like consulting, like marketing and consulting, like what we're doing as web designers. That when clients really need more business and the results are really important, you go with the premium option. But how do we actually get people to say yes? Like, what do we need to do to decrease the transactional resistance to make sure that people actually say yes? Because there's a couple of things going on that might make them say, hey, you know what, I'm feeling nervous about this. Let me think about it. And it's two things. And it's such an eye-opening thing for me when I realized it was two things and not one thing. I used to think it was fear. You have to overcome the fear factor. And if people aren't afraid anymore, then they'll move forward. And that's helpful, but it's not the whole story. There's also a concept of risk. And risk and fear are two totally separate things. Because risk by itself is not even a bad thing. Like, people like risk. Like, anytime you play a game, you put yourself in a risky environment on purpose because it's fun. So the risk by itself isn't necessarily a problem. It's the consequence of the risk that really becomes the fear factor. But in order for people to want to work with us, like local service businesses putting themselves into a high-ticket marketing campaign, you need to do things to lower both risk and fear. Risk is an analytical problem, and you think, well, how do I lower the perception of risk? Have you ever seen these YouTube videos where people have like a mystery box and they're trying to sell this mystery box for like $5 and they've got something really cool like a MacBook or something awesome is in the box, but then they try to like get people to like pay $5 to get the box and they're like, oh, it's too risky, I don't want to do it. And they're like, what about $1? And even at $1, like, I don't know, I feel nervous about it. Well, how could you solve that? Like, how can you reduce the risk there? Well, just make the box clear so people can see what's in it, right? And that's one of the things that we can do as web designers, is just make our offer super clear. And I'm not talking about just like the technical features of what you're going to do. I'm talking about why your offer works. Like, where is the traffic going to come from? Like, how do we even get people to see your stuff? And then how do we get leads from that traffic in a way that we can interact with them before they actually become clients? And once we have those leads, what do we actually do to nurture them into clients? So like, what's that traffic leads client story? And if it's clear why it works, it drastically reduces the feeling of risk. And you can go even further than that. Like, if you have the solution first, like if you've watched any of my YouTube videos, you've probably heard me talk about solution first agencies, where you build a reusable, proven system first before you can try to reach out to clients, because that reduces risk, right? So like, you get these local service businesses coming to you and they're like, wow, you've got this proven system, it's repeatable, you've got all this social proof and reviews backing you up. Like, I'm the kind of client that seems to be the same as all the other people you've worked with, and I understand why it all works. I don't feel like this is very risky at all, especially compared to someone who's just a garden variety web designer who's gonna like ask me what I want and try to assume that I know how to get all these results. If I knew how to do that, I'd be doing it already. So when they come to you with a solution first agency, the risk is just so much lower, but it's not zero. Like, there's always some marketing risk in the mix, which is why we also have to address the fear factor, because the consequence of failure is really big. Like, if you put all your money into this marketing thing and it doesn't work out, well, now you're even worse off than when you started and you weren't that good to begin with, which is why you're looking for the help. So how do we get the fear down? And I think there's two things that I'll do to lower the fear. And the first one is I'll just share in the risk, right? Like, I'll put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, and I'll tell the client that if things aren't going as well as we expect, I'll help with that in some way. And so I like to set this expectation that within like 3 to 6 months, usually it's like within 3 months, if my client is not doubling the money that they're spending with me, like if they're not making twice as much more than what they're spending, like if they're spending with me like $1,000 a month, if I'm not helping them generate at least $2,000 per month in new revenue, then I'll just work for half of whatever I bring in until we can get them over that threshold. Now, if I make them like $100,000, I'm not going to charge them $50. I'm gonna like stick at my $1,000 point. But if they're not bringing that in, I don't want them to feel like they're just going to have to pay me a ton of money in order to keep things going. And the reason that I know that is because I've been working with local service businesses for over 20 years, and I know that if they're not doubling their money with me within the first few months, they're going to cancel anyway. And since I know that, I'm just going to say whatever I would do up front to make it so that they don't cancel, because it's probably the case that they've made some progress, but not quite enough progress to kind of push them over that double your money kind of 2x ROI ledge. But we're probably close, right? So I might say, well, just give me a couple extra months, or maybe just maybe just a couple extra weeks even, to kind of push things over the edge rather than just cut it off and just kind of lose everything that we've built. So I'll just share in the risk. I'll be like, hey, if you're not doubling your money within the first few months, I will just work for half of whatever I bring in until you do. And that's I guess it's a guarantee. It's not a money back guarantee, but it's a guarantee. It's like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to share in the risk. I'm on the same side of the table as you. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I'll do is the value ladder that we just talked about. Like, taking a small step is a lot easier than taking a huge step. So in the event that the client can't go from 0 to top in one step, what if we just start at the entry level? Or what about the mid-tier package? So back when we were just talking about with step 2, structuring your offer as a value ladder is a huge way to reduce risk. Like, let the client's budget and risk tolerance or whatever, let that dictate the timeline rather than whether or not they work with you at all. So then let's go back to, well, what are the services that we actually need in order to create the results that we're looking for? Which is where I think you should check out this video where we're going to take a deep dive into what services you can offer right here. So I'll see you there in just a second.